Welcome back to the show here at the Trailblazers Talk podcast. I'm your host, Joseph Ortega, and we haven't filmed an episode in a long time. I know it's been months, but I said, you know what? The next episode for this new season to come out swinging, I have Anik Singal. He is the founder of Learn. He's a top education entrepreneur in the digital marketing space. Anik has over 2 decades in helping hundreds of thousands of students master online business skills. He's known for his expertise in copywriting and online marketing. But here's something that if you don't know what happened to him recently, the FTC got him. But he turned a bad thing into something good. And so in this conversation, we're going to talk about compliance. We're going to talk about how, everything he learned in his FTC lawsuit and how it's empowering him to crush it today. So Anik Singal, welcome to the show, man.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me. It's my pleasure, and happy to talk about the journey and compliance and, the mindset that it takes to make it through all of that. I'm excited to share.
Let's go, man. So I guess the first question I have for you today is, dude, what happened?
It's a loaded question. How much time you got? Here's the short of it. Been in this industry now for 22 years. I started out of college, and this industry being the industry of teaching people how to build businesses online. I have built an amazing reputation I'm damn proud of, regardless of what happened with the FTC. And from day one, I understood very clearly that I was in a heavily regulated space by the FTC and that there was always this risk. And because I wanted to build big and scale and do something big, I took it seriously as far as I understood and knew. And so we had a quote unquote compliance attorney for the last over a decade that was representing us. And I had probably easily given them $1 million plus in fees for not just compliance checking, but, just legal otherwise. And before the FTC messaged me or got a hold of me, I had a full-time paralegal that worked for my company that would review our marketing and specifically our sales calls for compliance. I took it seriously. But here's the advice that was given to me by attorneys and very smart people for, again, over almost 15 years. And that was, look, be good, do good, you're good. That's how I summarized it. It was 6 words, and it made sense to me. So compliance in 6 words, be good, do good, you're good. That's what I understood it to be. It made sense, right? Hey, the FTC is there to protect consumers that are getting harmed, and they're going to take down companies that are point blank scamming and hurting people. I said, hey, that's a mission I can get on board with. So not only do I take that seriously, but I root from the sidelines for the FTC. And believe it or not, even after having been through this whole experience, I'm still standing on the sidelines rooting for the FTC. I think at the core, the agency's got a great purpose and it got a great mission. I think what happens, though, is that when you do some blanket bombing, there is unfortunately some collateral damage. And in my case, I ended up being part of that. So I would change the way they do things, but whatever. That's a separate topic for another day. So I was told, look, Anik, when customers want a refund, give them a refund. When you have a product, make it damn good. Make sure your customers are happy, you're going to be okay. So I built a machine and I built KPIs that track that. So we were doing over 20,000 transactions a year. We were getting 20 BBB.
What was the average price ticket per transaction?
A lot, because our revenue, when in 2022, when we got that notice, we were going to do 40 million that year.
Damn.
So these transactions were at a high price point. We had a refund rate of less than 5%, a chargeback rate of less than 0.7%. We had an A rating at the BBB. We had a 36-minute response time to our customers. I had 3 customer support teams worldwide working all times. So night, day, weekends, holidays, we had, we were getting down. The goal for the team had been that we need a 1-minute response time. So,
and what was this business that you built that did 40 million?
Good question. Publishing company. So what we did is we published other people. So for example, Joseph, we would publish you and say, hey, you can teach people how to build a e-commerce clothing brand. So we're going to get that. We're going to build a course and we bring the distribution. We know how to do the paid traffic. We have affiliates. We have reach. But we were working with big celebrities, man. Robert Kiyosaki, Damon John, Les Brown, Bob Proctor. So we were out there. We were prominent. We were growing. A publishing business is one of the hardest businesses on the planet to build. I'm telling you, I slogged. I invested millions in mistakes, and I worked so hard, so stressed, because my dream was to sell the company. And guess what happened? This is when you start playing your violin. I finally had it, man. I nailed it. I built the most beautiful team. We had a great, by the way, serviced over 200,000 customers. Never once did I receive even a legal notice with a legal header. Like, forget lawsuit. none of our customers even felt the need to we were good, man. We were having no problem. So I wasn't really expecting to hear from the FTC. I thought we were doing it so well. And there were so many other players doing it so bad. Except, so I build a company, I get it ready. I'm actually being acquired. We are on the late stages through due diligence of being acquired. My wife gives birth to our first baby. And I'm like, this is perfect. I'm going to get my right hand to become CEO. I'm going to step down. We're going to sell the company. I'll make my dreams come true. And I can get to be a dad for the next year. Boom. My daughter's born. 3 weeks later, get the notice from the FTC that we're being investigated. And all my dreams crashed before my eyes. The acquisition was gone. The ability to step down as CEO was gone. The year long I was going to be obsessively just devoted to my daughter was gone. And so how we got here was just, there were things being said on our webinars and that they just didn't like. And we went from an administration at the FTC that really did focus, what it seems like, I can't substantiate any of this, but it seems like they used to be complaint driven and now they are policy driven. So it, doesn't matter if you have a lot of complaints or not.
What's the difference between the two?
So if you're complaint driven, it's like, okay, okay, let me give it in a way. So, imagine a police officer that's standing at the side of the road looking for people that are breaking the law, violating speed limits and all. And he sees a car going 70 in a 60 zone at 3 a.m. Streets are completely empty. So back in the day, the FTC would have said, let him go. Not hurting anyone. Roads are empty.
Right.
There's worse people. Look at that guy that just went 120. We got 7 phone calls in about that person who almost hit them. We need to take that guy as a menace. We need to take him off the road. He's going to kill somebody. But that guy just going 10 over the speed limit, he's just fine. To imagine a police officer that pulls you over and you're like, officer, what the heck? The streets are empty. Doesn't matter. Speed limit is 60. You're going 70. That's policy driven. So complaint driven is people calling in saying this dude almost killed me. Policy driven is I don't give a crap if the roads are empty. Speed limit 60, you're going 70. So it seems like they made that change. That's what it looks like. And I didn't really know. And they, of course, they're not required to notify us of that. So, and that was what we got dragged into. So it was like, hey, you said this sentence is not compliant. Hey, you said this is not compliant. Hey, you said this is not compliant. And when we went back and said, whoa, wait, listen, man, we've got hundreds of thousands of customers. They're happy. Look at our, look at this. And it was like, don't care. Irrelevant. You said this, it's not compliant.
So what is it that you guys were saying that you
claims things, like if you're on a 4-hour webinar and you got someone who loves to sell like me and who believes in their products, so I might say something like, listen, man, if you want to be able to quit your job, I think this is the best system to be able to help you do that. We were able to help Joseph start making $1,000 a day doing this. Oh my God, that statement right there is littered.
So saying with money, like saying you're gonna, you've done.
Look, put it this way, okay? Put it this way: when you go to a Ferrari dealership and you buy a Ferrari,
right?
They can only tell you you're getting a fast car. They can't tell you that you're going to win the next Grand Prix.
I see.
Right? So they can't tell you the results.
When you go buy supplements, they can't tell you, hey, you're gonna get abs if you drink this.
Exactly. What they can tell you is, hey, you're gonna have a tasty green juice that's full of a bunch of the supplements and probiotics.
Destroy the marketing world? Because isn't most people teaching someone something talking about results, and isn't that the way to attract customers?
You would think, but what type of customer do you really attract? Because for me, we've gone to compliant marketing. It's not destroyed anything. If anything, It's literally magnified the quality of the customer I get. So just think of it this way, okay? Up market, down market. This is a term. Once I explain this, Joseph, it's going to change the way you look at your business and your customers.
Let's go.
So what type of customer do you attract when you're making hypey claims? I was on a podcast once and I was asked, this is years ago, and I'm reminded of it. It stuck with me. I was asked by the person that said, what's the worst part of your business? I was like, wow, that's interesting. And I said, you know what? It's the impatient clients, impatient customers. They come in and they complain and they want results magically. They want results to just happen the next day. And it's like, that's not realistic. And this podcast host, okay, wasn't from our industry, so innocently leans in and says something that completely was embarrassing, actually. And he leans in and he goes, but isn't that what you tell them?
Wow.
And I was like, shit. Kind of, yeah, I guess. Like the expectations are created. So what happens when you use all this hype and you talk about the money someone's going to make and you're sitting there, let's just face it, hyping it up, you are attracting people that are in desperate situations, people that are vulnerable, people that perhaps don't know enough and aren't educated enough in that realm to analyze what you're actually saying. And they're trying to look for a way to pay their mortgage next month when we know the business is going to take a few months just even to set up. So they think they're going to set it up by tomorrow and pay their next mortgage payment. So
Right.
that customer is A, not capable of actually implementing what you say. B, doesn't have the investment capital to implement what you say. C, is not the right customer to buy your higher end products. And D, is the exact customer that's going to complain, refund, chargeback. And that's the exact person the FTC is trying to protect because the FTC finds them to be vulnerable. Now, think about the type of people that are the best for you to actually build a business and do what you, professionals. Lawyers, engineers, nurses, doctors. These
Right.
are people who maybe want to make a career change, but they got the capital, they're educated, they're smart, they've done things, they're not desperate. These people come in and they'll actually do. But those are the very people that went to college, they got degrees. And so when you sit there and you're like, and Sally makes $500,000 an hour thanks to the 16 minutes of advice I gave her, they look at that and go, ugh. Right there. So what happens with the hypey marketing that we've learned, Joseph, what's happened is over the last 100, 200 years, every generation of direct marketer is outdoing the past generation because competition's increasing. So we're getting more and more bombastic with the things we're saying because we feel we need to convert. But we're all fighting for the very customer that ironically isn't even the right customer to build a good business and a reliable brand. Because let me tell you, that which you build fast will crumble even faster, and that which you build slow will last you a lifetime. So when you build a business with the right customers, it scales, grows, and it accumulates, it
Okay.
accelerates,
So
right?
I have this. Okay.
So let
I
me just
have a
finish this
thought.
thought.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
let me just
Absolutely.
finish this thought. So basically
Absolutely.
what happens is when you do the hypey marketing, you're actually attracting the wrong customers and deterring the right ones. When you do compliant marketing, you show up in front of someone and you're real and you're honest and you say, this is what I'm going to teach you. This is what you expect. You deter the hypey people and you attract the right customers. So when people ask me, doesn't compliant marketing kill your conversions? I tell them the following, yes and no. They're like, what? I'm like, it does. It kills your conversions for the wrong market, but it builds your conversions for the right market. So you end up still converting great, but you now get better customers that spend more with you, do more of what you say, and give you a better life building your business. That's what I've experienced over the last 2 years. Go ahead.
I like that. So here's a thought. Because a lot of people who watch this podcast, they are coaches, they're consultants, they're people who do get people results from one way or the other. Does this shift of being more compliant, being more the mechanism, I guess, right? Like this is what you're going to learn. This is the mechanism of getting a certain result. You're not, does it change the way people build their business? Like, is there a better way to fulfill the things that you're promising with this shift of compliance?
I think to be a compliant marketer does absolutely impact every aspect of your business. So it shifts how you deliver, it shifts what you promise, it shifts the type of customers you bring in. But let me go back a little bit because
Okay.
you mentioned coaches and consultants, and
Right.
actually there's a big ray of hope for coaches and consultants when it comes to the topic of results. So the FTC or the regulators have no problem with results-based marketing. They don't have a problem with it. Here's what they say. Is that a typical result? Right? Okay, so Apple sells me the iPhone and says, this phone doesn't need to be charged more than once every two days. I don't know, whatever, right? That's a result.
Right.
Or it says
Right.
proven to XYZ. There's a lot of results-based marketing out there. The FTC just says, is that typical? Can we count on that? Now you can define typical. So a lot of people fight back to typical and say, well, how do I control the fact that a customer doesn't actually complete my program? No, that's okay. The FTC says, hey, if you want to go ahead and define that the average typical result of a customer who finishes our program is, if you have substantiatable typical results, use results in your marketing within a margin of that typicality. So how do I say this back for coaches and consultants? Look, most consultants, they don't work with thousands of people. They work with 10, 15 at a time. And most consultants do, the good ones, get an average client a great result, right? That's why they're still in business. So as long as you track all of that, and as long as, if I'm an SEO consultant and I can confirm that the typical customer working with me sees a 35% increase in their web traffic for free within a 12-month window of allowing us to work with them, by all means, use it.
Got you. And what's the best form of tracking it? Is there a proper way of tracking something?
There is. And so what I always say is before you determine that something is typical, you're going to want to talk to an attorney and show them your stuff and make sure that they feel comfortable that it's typical. And so how you track typicality is very different if you're a course seller or if you're a coach or if you're a consultant. So if you're a consultant, right, pretty straightforward. It's just got to have documentation of all of it. So you need to have the before and the after, right? So before, what are the Google Analytics? What do the web logs look like? What does their P&L look like? What's their revenue look like? And then you document what you did with them. It's not enough to just get the before and the after, because someone regulator could just say, well, how do we know it's you who got that result? How do we know it's thanks to your work? What if they just got it because naturally the business grew? So what you do is you document throughout, hey, this month we did this, we optimized for this keyword, we did this, we did that. And so you build that substantiation over the course of 12 months. Here's all the things we did. This was the before logs. This is the after logs. We have all of that substantiated in one folder. And any reasonable human would be able to look at that and say, yeah, I can't argue that. That as a result, you got them. Body.com does this really well with like their P90X program and all of that. So when you buy that program, you sign a release at the front, you get access to a login, you start taking your classes, there's a journal. You have to fill the journal out. Every week or 2 weeks, there's someone from the Body.com team that communicates with you, says, how are you doing? I said, you're 2 weeks in, great. How you been feeling? The person's like, oh, I'm loving it, this and that. They're logging all of that. And by the end, as you've given the before picture, then you give the after picture. And Body.com knows, hey, the average customer that finishes our 90-day program loses 12 pounds or whatever the number is. But no one could come in and argue that because they have the log of each of those customers that they'd use to establish typicality. So you have to have a documented before, documented after, and a journey. Most people don't realize that journey part is really important.
Yeah, I mean, I'm realizing now after you saying this. Another question I just had in mind is there I don't want to say a better way, but is there a more compliant way on fulfilling services that the FTC, like, is there, like, let's just say I'm a coach and I help men lose weight. Is it better to build everything through a course, like a specific course platform that's more compliant than others? Like, is there anything in like the software that you use or anything like that?
No, not at all. No.
Okay.
Use whatever you want. They just, they don't get into those weeds. They just basically say, prove it. I mean, it's a very simple thing. You need to be able to prove it, whether you do that manually through just documenting memos, notes, emails back and forth with the client, or whether you have a very professional system like Body.com does. It's just, I think what's going to determine what systems you use and build is just what scale are you doing it at. And it's more of a you need, right? They just say, we want to be able to look at it and feel confident that, those results are from you.
Gotcha. I love that, man. I've been connected with you for quite some time, and just seeing what you've done in the past, and then you pause because of the FTC, and then you're coming back swinging. Excuse me. What are things you're doing today in terms of like customer acquisition, in terms of getting this new book you have out, in terms of like this new program out? Like, what are you doing today that's been different than what you've done before?
Okay. So what I'm doing today, ironically, is what I used to do before, way before.
Really? Okay.
I have been now doing this for 22 years. And one of the things I've said is one of the, right, exactly. That was a Kevin Hart moment, man.
Because I'm 29, dude, and I was like, damn, when I was 7 years old, you started this? That's crazy. Dude, sorry, I don't mean to make you feel old, dude.
Dude, do you hold on? Do you know that Kevin Hart clip? Do you know what I'm talking about? You literally
we just
enacted the exact damn clip. It went super
That's
viral.
funny.
Hold on. That was too funny.
To my
I can't believe.
podcast producer watching this, make sure you insert the clip here.
Here, he's with them. I forgot I don't know the name of this actor, but he's interviewing this actor. And then listen.
I'm sorry.
That's exactly what just happened. Anyway, so yeah, 22 years, man. You were 7 when I started. I was in college, and God, I don't even remember where I was going with that. So 22 years I've been doing this. What the heck was the point I was going to make?
You were saying you were.
Oh yeah, different. Okay, so one of the things I've seen by being one of the quote unquote OGs in the industry, which I take as a great honor and a great praise, is that market is cyclical. It's so crazy how we work. The history really does repeat itself. So what most people don't know right now, if someone were to look at me as a snapshot, and you might even say this, and they're like, what is Anik really good at? What is Anik? People like, he's the webinar guy. And that's, man, you ready for this? This is going to shock you. Do you know I am the most uncomfortable being the webinar guy? So the way I generated most of my revenue in the last few years is, in my opinion, not my actual strong suit. Now, I'm damn good at it, right? I co-founded the WebinarCon event, and most people would say I'm probably one of the top 3, 4, 5 webinar, executors. Like, I can deliver powerful webinars, I can sell well, but that's not where I'm dangerous. Where I started my business, and for the first 15 years of my business, I was in the industry known as the king of low ticket. I mean, I was the low ticket guy. I was the one, when everyone else was doing product launches in the market, doing $1 million with $1,000 product, I was doing product launches with a free trial giveaway DVD. Yeah, that's right, man. You can
DVD.
say damn again. I was selling DVDs. All right. I was giving away 15,000 DVDs that would then turn into a $97 a month continuity. This is literally 12 years, 13, 14 years ago. So at one point I had 10,000 people rebilling at $100 a month because of that launch. Right. So that launch went on to make probably $7-8 million. So I was doing a tremendous amount. Here's where I'm really good. I've always joked and said to people, once you let me in the door, I'm really good at A, serving you, but B, getting more money out of you. And I say that with respect, not with like a manipulative way. I'm just, that's my strong suit. Even if you study my coursework where I teach copywriting, right? I'm known to be a great copywriter, but I've always said I teach it so differently than everybody else because I just purely talk about the psychology. I don't care what words you use. I think copywriting is all about taking people through a psychological journey. It's not about the words you use.
Right.
So going back, how do I acquire customers now? I'm going back to my roots of what I used to do, except for a few changes. Now, if a business that I'm looking at, either launching, doing, doesn't consumer facing business, not enterprise or B2B, that's different. A consumer facing business, if it does not have the ability for me to immediately, very quickly go to Facebook ads with a low ticket offer, I'm not doing it because it's too much work. I'm not dealing with affiliates. I'm not dealing with webinars. I'm not dealing with any of that crap. That's not scalable. It's not leverageable. What I want to know is that whatever business I'm going into, it's got a low ticket capability to basically inject into the market so that I can go in and quickly take over the market. And then it's got to have a super ticket at the end of it. It's got to have a 10K plus offer capability because that's going to make my data, my acquisition data, my ROAS, return on ad spend, it's going to make me invincible. If I don't have both of those extreme ends nailed down, and I don't mean like kind of, but I mean like I feel without a shadow of doubt that those two will do really well. And if I have that, I believe in my hearts of hearts that setting up a $10 million a year information business is not hard at all. And all I do is I take my low ticket, I build a compelling message around it, I take it to Facebook ads, and I scale it. And as long as I've got both, and I've got to have some stuff in the middle, but as long as I've got those both extremes, it's just a matter of time and optimizing and building the right team. So that's all I'm doing today. So you mentioned, right? We were talking about this before the interview started, and I said I took a sidestep from my marketing education business. For the last 6-7 months, I've not been teaching people marketing. I literally just went into pure compliance only. We're bringing it back in 2025. The biggest reason I stepped away from my marketing education business was because I didn't have one extreme of that extreme I mentioned. So I had my low tickets. I know how to sell low tickets all day long in the marketing education world, but I didn't have a good 10K plus back end that fit my life, fit what I wanted to do, was compliant, and that I felt good about. I just didn't have it. So if I didn't have it, I wasn't going to push it. I just walked away from that business. Now in the last month or so, we nailed it. We've got it. I'm building the right team around it. I'm making it scalable. I'm making it something I feel really good about. Now that I've
What, if
got
you don't
that,
mind me asking, what's the 10K offer?
so I can't talk about that just yet because we're still putting it all together.
Okay.
But
Okay.
so I don't want to put that out in the market
Well,
yet. But
let me
I feel
ask you
good
this
about
then.
it now.
Yeah, let me ask you this, because there's a lot of people listening in that are trying to figure out what their high ticket offer should be. Are you structuring your high ticket offer to be more like one-to-one, or is it one-to-many?
No, definitely one to many. I'm not doing anything one to one. I don't got time for that. Okay,
So a lot of people can't comprehend doing 10K one-to-many because they think that if someone pays them more money, they need to be private with them. They need to do one-on-one. I think there's a lot of people in the marketplace that have this mindset. So would you mind like just breaking that mindset for the people listening in right now?
Sure. Yeah, it's just personal belief, right? People don't care about the mode of delivery. They care about what they'll be able to do with what they're getting.
That's fire.
That's it. So you're stuck. You're the only one stuck on the mode of delivery because you're the one delivering. The end market doesn't give a crap about that.
Wow.
I don't really care. I just want to know: can you make me believe compliantly that I'll get enough to get the outcome I desire?
Mm.
So the only reason people throw one-to-one in is because that's the lazy way to make someone quickly believe that, because they just say, oh, I mean, you're really, really smart. And if I get you one-on-one, I'm sure I can emulate and get the results you have because I'll have your phone number. And
Right.
so it's a quick way to make someone believe that, but there are other ways to get there. The word that I would use that I'm currently really obsessing about, and it wasn't easy by any means. I want everyone to understand something. Setting up a killer, powerful 10, 15, 20K offer is not easy. It's
No,
actually
it's
so
not.
difficult that I had to abandon that business for the last 6, 7, 8 months, walk away from it, because the decision I made was I'm not going to push it. I see a lot of a lot of young coaches, a lot of people, they're so desperate to just hit that price point and to be able to have that piece that they jerry rig things together, and they pull sales. They go in and they drag you to the finish line, and they have to drag all their customers to the finish line. That's why they get exhausted
Right.
and burn out.
Wow.
Well, let me go focus on something different. I'm going to naturally let the right thing fall into place. Let the market tell me what they want and what they're willing to naturally pay for, so I'm not dragging them across the finish line. That's step one. Step two, in my at least entrepreneurial journey, was to figure out how are we going to deliver that? Because
Mhm.
I'm living in this land now. I'm in compliance land. I'm building a software that has a potential of being a multi 9-figure exit. That's a big opportunity. I'm 41. I've got another 19 years of being an operational head of a company max. I don't want to be doing that past 60. At 60, I want to be an investor. I want to be chilling. I want to be hanging out. So if I've got 19 more years of being an operational, that's not a lot of time, guys. 19 years goes like this, okay? So I want to put my time, I want to park my ass in the biggest possible vehicle I can, so that I get the highest return. So who's going to build this for me? So once I know what it is that the market wants, the second piece of it that was important for me is what's the right team to build it?
Mm.
And I didn't have that right either. And I was so adamant. I said, until I have that nailed, I'm not moving forward on this. Now, over the last month, someone's emerged, the right person who I think can facilitate. And if it works out with this person and we're able to come to a win-win, great, I'll move forward. And if it doesn't, I'll pull back again and I'll wait
Mm.
until the right person. I think this is one big instrumental change in me as an entrepreneur from 5 years ago to today, is patience and waiting for the right thing. I just had a meeting this morning, Joseph, before I came to this interview. It's a really exciting meeting. Okay. It was over a breakfast with a very successful, prominent, connected man who is brought forward to me a huge opportunity, would like me
Mhm.
to move forward on it. And the first thing I told him was, here are all the things I'm going to need, non-negotiables, right? And some of them made him uncomfortable. And I said, that's okay, you know, but unless we resolve these things and unless these things are in place, there's no moving forward. There's no, there's
Wow.
no, there's no compromise, right? I need a budget of X amount. We're going to need to raise this much money to invest in the company, not a penny less, maybe more. And I'm going to need these people. and I'm going to need these resources. I'm not doing it without it, period. Right? And I went as far as saying, I need these 10 beta customers, because you're connected. I need you to commit to me that these 10 companies would be ready and lined up to use the thing that we build, which won't even be built for another 15 to 16 months. But I want to know now. I want to talk to each of the 10. I want to talk to each of the 10 CEOs to know that they're on board, that when I do build it, they'll use it. And I want this much capital raised, and I want these people. And by the way, there's 2 people on your team currently that I want. You need to give me those 2 people.
Wow.
And he's looking at me like this. And it was, but you know what? We left that conversation, and I guarantee you I'm going to get what I needed. But I said it with a lot of resolve, a lot of confidence. And that comes from me just saying, at this point, I don't have time, the energy to compromise on things. So if you're a coach and you're trying to build that high ticket offer, don't rush it. Go talk to your market. Figure out what the hell they want. That's it. It doesn't have to be that much more complicated, guys. You don't need to figure it out. Let them tell you what they want. And what they tell you, here's going to be your reaction. You're going to say, oh, that's really hard to build. I don't know how to do that. That's the point. Entrepreneurs are not paid for just creating random offers. We create value, and that's how we get paid. So if you create a random offer, great, you'll make some money. Make some 6 figures, make a couple 7 figures. Next year, 2 years, 3 years, it'll implode. You'll burn out, customers will burn out, you'll churn through the market. If you take extra time now to build the thing that the customers actually want, that's hard, you end up creating value. And that value rides a long way. So figure out what they want, figure out who's going to help you build it, embrace the challenge, embrace the suck, and go build it. And if it takes you 6 months, takes you a year, give it 6 months, give it a year. You don't have to do it next month. I don't know why, we go to college at the off chance of getting a job that makes us minimum. We'll go to college for 4 years, but internet marketers and us business owners were like 6 months. Oh my God, no, that's too long. Right. And that perspective has completely changed in my mind.
Wow, man, that's so good. So for the people who are listening in, they go, man, this is so good. I'll give myself 6 months. What should they do in the meantime though? Like, what if they go, okay, I'm going to build this 10K offer. In the meantime, should they be focused on low ticket?
So first and foremost, the first thing they should do is the next 2 weeks, they should book up as many calls with their prospective customers as they can.
Okay.
And they need to get on the phone with these people. These are people that are already customers. These are people that are not customers. And they need to do what I call ask open-ended questions. Don't go up there with 17 questions. That's too much. So if I'm Joseph, so if you were one of my target customers, I'd get on the phone with you. Hey, Joseph, thanks for being on this call today. Let me lay out my goal here. My goal is, and my business is getting ready to go to the next mode. I really want to solve a big problem for clothing brand e-commerce companies, Joseph. I want to build some huge value, and you are the exact target demographic person that I would want to make your life a lot easier. So Joseph, for the next 15 minutes, I want you to tell me your biggest problems. I want you to tell me your biggest desires. I want you to tell me what is something I could do for you that would make your business grow faster, would make your life easier, and would make you love me. And then shut up. Just shut up.
Is the best way to get these people on a call is shoot them a DM? Hey, we'd love to have a call with you to learn how I can help you. Like, what's the best form of first contact?
So I'll post it on Facebook.
Okay.
And just say, I'm looking for this type of person. I'm trying to do a market research call. Who wants to help? You're going to get a few people. Let those few people get on the phone with you. Ask them to refer more people out. Hey, man, I need to have, my goal is, look, a psychological study was done long back that said the one most powerful word in persuasion is because. Tell people why. And they're much, much, much more likely to do. This was a really cool study. I don't remember the exact numbers, but they did the study by back when we would still go to like FedEx to Xerox copies or Kinko's. There was a line of people waiting to do use the copier. So this person would show up at the back of the line and say, I'm sorry, do you mind if I button line and just stop? And they would track how many people would say yes and how many people would say no. Then the second round, they would go to people and say, do you mind if I button line because my daughter is late to get to her practice and I got to get out of here? And they would track how many people would say yes and how many people would say no. So obviously the number of people that said yes to that went up like instrumentally. The third one they tested was, do you mind if I butt in line because I don't want to wait? So they gave a really shitty reason after the because. And the real thing they were trying to figure out was, what is the difference between the first and the third? The second one, it kind of makes sense. All of us feel like, yeah, if I said because my daughter is sitting in my car, everyone would be like, okay, yeah,
Right.
go. But the third one is like this bullshit reason, right? And they found that it still had a significant increase in the number of people that agreed to let you butt in line just because you used the word because. So allow people to enroll into your mission. So Joseph, I'm on a mission to talk to 20 clothing brand entrepreneurs.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got 7 already lined up, man. Could you help me out, please? Can you introduce me to 2 more people that would be willing to give me a half an hour of their time like you just did so that you can help me reach my goal of 20?
Man, that's good.
So all you need is the first few, and you'll get the rest if you're devoted to it. But you got to have at least 20 conversations before you start to even have a chance at figuring out what the market wants. And so now once you have those conversations, you figure out what the market wants, you need to get busy figuring out how to resolve. So there has to be a prevailing trend until you say, dude, 70% of these conversations are saying this. Until you have that, you don't have it. So if 20 calls don't get you there, here's what's happened. You've either been talking to the wrong people or you need to have 20 more calls until that pattern erupts. So what might have happened is you thought you're talking to clothing brand entrepreneurs, but you kind of got taken off, and now you've been talking to like tchotchke and e-com entrepreneurs and drop shipping Shopify entrepreneurs, and it's like, oh man, that's not. So you got to realign. But if you actually talk to 20 key avatars that are the right avatars that you're trying to target, I would be, man, for me in my history right so far, never once have I had 20 conversations with the same type of person and not seen a prevailing trend in the challenges, issues, and things. Once you see that, you set your stakes on trying to figure out how you solve it. And once you figure out how you're going to solve it, part of you figuring out how to solve it, you're going to end up having to go out and talk to people. Now you're team building. And so you start to pull that thread. So during the 6 months or 10 months or 12 months or however long it takes for you to vet that out, what you're doing on the other side is you're building buzz. You're starting to get your lead generation offers, your low tickets, your books, or whatever you need to then attract that avatar. So now I say, Joseph, where do you hang out? What do you do? What do you buy?
Right.
What gets you going? Because now I'm trying to figure out, how do I get a bunch of Josephs in the room?
Right.
So that all stuff takes time, guys. For me today, I'm very good at funnel building. I'm very good at copywriting. I got a wicked team that's brilliant. But for me to build a proper, really well executed low ticket funnel that's going to do really well, it still takes me 2 months between creation of the product, the funnel, the pages, the designs. And if it's taking me 2 months, it might take you 4, 5, 6 months if you're just getting started. So be patient. But what's going to happen out the other end of it, man, is you're going to come out with a solid, well thought out, researched. And when I'm done, here's the cool part. If I had 20 or 30 conversations and I finish the product and I actually do the thing, I call Joseph up and I say, hey, Joseph, thank you so much, man. Your feedback was so instrumental. I did it. I built it. I'd love a chance to show you what I built. Would you like to see it? And Joseph's like, hell yeah, I want to see it. I was a part of this. I've been a part. I bought into this. So I get on the demo. And Joseph's like, hey, dude, how did I get this? It's like, oh, so glad you asked.
Yeah.
And now you got your first customers ready to go.
Man,
so
that's
this
good.
is where I try to tell people, we complicate being an entrepreneur by trying to do everything ourselves in our own head. And that's so antithesis. It's such the opposite of what entrepreneurs are actually rewarded to do. We're actually rewarded to talk and to solve problems. That's it.
Right. Man, that's good. Man, you gave so much game. And for those who are listening in, I would recommend replaying back what he just said. He gave you a blueprint on how you could craft your offer and make it. A lot of people think about an irresistible offer, but to me, what I just heard is a well thought out offer, where when someone sees it, they go, oh man, like I need this. And I really like that you said patience, because like I've been in business for 15 plus years and I build, I build clothing brands, I build brands. And the thing about building a brand is sometimes it could take a week, sometimes it could take a year. It just depends on like the creative process you go through. And I think people in the digital marketing world think that you could think of something and in 24 hours you could be massively successful. And it could happen to maybe someone like you, but the average person, they need it can't. It just doesn't. There's certain elements that goes into a funnel or an offer, or hey, if you need to create a course, like, do you have the right equipment? And the thing I like about you, dude, is your content is so prestige. I like that your production looks legit. It's not half-assed. Let's talk about that for a second, because even on the Zoom, you look better than me. I'm like, man, I got to upgrade my stuff. Like, what's your take on the quality of production? Because I've had a conversation with someone else at your level, and they're like, dude, production doesn't matter. Just create content, just show up. But your content looks pretty prestige. Like, what's your thoughts on that?
So I don't completely disagree with the advice the other person gave. I do think that, one of my absolute all-time favorite podcasts right now that I listen to fully religiously are shot on webcams. It's 4 people who get on webcams and just shoot wherever they are. I don't really care about the quality of the content is so good. Now my second favorite podcast is shot in a beautiful podcast studio with, the people being on site present. So to some degree, the person who gave you that advice of like, oh, don't give a crap about that and just like shoot content, they're not wrong. And that's good advice for people because people get wrapped up in this, right? So what you're seeing here took time to build. There's a professional camera. I have a producer. There's an AV director. And so it's expensive. And you certainly don't need any of that to get started. Now, why am I not at my house on my webcam doing this interview versus here? I come from probably still a little bit of the old school thinking of how you do one thing is how you do everything. And so I think at a subliminal level, I send a message to the market, to my customers, to my partners, to my hosts who have me on their podcast, that I'm going to always show up with my utmost best. And you can trust me to give it my best. So Joseph, even though we're here and we're doing a podcast interview, I don't pretend to know where the future takes us. So you and I could be in a few years sitting and talking about a multi-million, multi-decamillion, multi-centimillion dollar deal, and what I want to do is from the first time you've ever met me to make sure that you've had an absolutely pristine experience so that you carry nothing but good thoughts and professional thoughts about me. And so that goes to every single one of your listeners. Right now, you are doing me the honor of putting me in front of your audience, and I owe it to you and to every single one of them to show up at my best. And part of my best is making sure I'm well lit, making sure I sound good, and making sure I look good. Right? And is it required? No. Is it preferred for me? Yes. And I think if you look at my brand and me as an entity, 22 years I've been doing this, very few people get hit by the FTC and have the FTC send out multiple press releases about them saying some really nasty things about that person. Yet does the industry go, we know him, we don't care. And I think that it's every single time I went through that extra 1%, 2%, 3% effort to look good, to have a good, I think that over 20 years culminated to a brand that was so strong that it could absorb being attacked by the largest, most powerful organization in the marketing world of the country.
Wow.
So little wins, little pieces, I feel add up to a cumulative big result.
Man, I love that. Dude, I love how you said how you do one thing is how you do everything, because that's a phrase that I think everybody is trying to live by, but because of limitations, maybe money or just not knowing what equipment to use, I do think it's worth people investing time to learn how to set up their at-home studio. Or I think it is important to show up as your best self, like what you said, because when you do show up as your best self, there's a level of trust that's being built.
Look, guys, you can have a really professional sound and visual for $300 or less. Lights are not expensive. Mics, you can have a great mic for $100. Webcams are super powerful. You don't need. I have a DSLR $2,000 camera. You don't need that. You can look
Yeah.
great with a webcam. So $300 or less, you can have a really professional look. And for anybody that comes to me and says, I don't have $300, that says so much to me about you, not because you said you don't have it, but because you believe that you can't get it. And so if I really care about what I look like, I'm not going to say I don't have $300. I'm going to say, how do I get $300? If that means I need to turn on the Uber app and go drive Uber for 3 days to get $300, I'm going to go do it. And that's how I do things. That's how I've always done things. So I have so many things in my life that I didn't have the money for. But instead of foregoing them and complaining or asking someone to hand it down to me, I simply said, what do I need to go get this done and how do I go get it done? And so if you want to look good on camera, go look good on camera. My studio may have cost me 10, 15,000. You can do it for $300. You can look really good on camera for $300 and upgrade as you go. Right. But I think that it's not the money. It's the fact that you thought about it, solved the problem to go get it, and then took the day to set it up and figure it out. Again, the way you do one thing is how you do everything. That tells me a lot about you.
Man, that's a bar. Well, Anik, dude, I wish I could keep going, but we're at the end of this. And I just want to honor you for your time. I know everyone listening in got major gems from this. The one question I ask every single guest, every single time I do an episode is, God forbid anything happening to you, but if you were to exit this world and there's nothing of you left on the internet, like you can't find anything except for one line that's framed in the Hall of Heroes for the rest of eternity, or the Hall of Trailblazers for the rest of eternity, what would you put in that piece of paper? What is one line you put?
That's so easy, because I've had one line that I've been saying for 20 years. I say it at the end of every video I do. I say it at the end of everything I do. And that is, when life pushes you, stand straight, smile, and push it the heck back.
That's a bar. Man, I love that.
And there's a lot of psychology in that. People think I just randomly came up with that. There's a lot of psychology. And the core of that line for everybody is the smile. If you're being bullied or if you're being harassed, the most intimidating thing you can do to the person doing it to you is smile at them. Because it completely strips them of any power they have over you. So when you're in that tough time, smile. You rip that thing of its power over you and you take control back. And so that's the line.
I love that, dude. Well, definitely got to do part 2 in person whenever you're out here in Vegas. Just let me know.
Of course.
And for those who are listening in, all of his links are below this, whether you're listening on YouTube or whatever platform we publish this on. I would recommend getting connected with him. I would recommend following him and learning from him, because compliance is going to be the one thing everybody needs to shift. I mean, if you're making a lot of money and you're in the result-based business and you're using claims that could get you shut down or in trouble, I would really recommend shifting. I mean, my eyes and ears are opened up after hearing this conversation, and I'm going to make some shifts myself. So, Anik, thank you for being on the show, and we'll catch you guys on the next episode.
All right. Thank you.